Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Love. I post videos regarding Canada immigration, Canada visa application, and I will be sharing my entire journey to Canada as an international student. So if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and be a part of my journey. In today's video, I will be sharing all the important information and details you need to know about the quarantine plan. I have divided this video into three parts. So by the end of the video, you'll have all the points you need to keep in mind for quarantine before you book your place. You'll have a quarantine plan form ready with you, which you can carry as it is to the airport and show to the immigration officers. You'll be ready with your quarantine question and answers with the officers as to what to answer to the officers if they ask questions. Also, you will be looking at different websites, and I'll be suggesting you different websites for cheaper places to quarantine, and we'll be comparing real life prices. So make sure you stick to the end of this video so you don't miss any of the important information. And after this video, I don't think you will need any other information about the quarantine plan. I've tried to make it as much detailed as possible. I've also made videos about the important documents you need to carry at the airport, about the entire airport immigration experience with my sister, as well as how to use the ArriveCan app. So if you haven't already checked out those videos, go ahead to my channel, check those videos out, do subscribe and be a part of my channel. And without wasting any time, let's just get into the video. Okay, so let's go ahead and firstly we'll be looking at the really important points and regulations that you need to keep in mind when you arrive in Canada and before you book your quarantine place. So I'll be reading these quickly for you guys, and you can also pause it anywhere you want, or you can take a screenshot if you like. So let's go ahead and start with the regulations. So mandatory quarantine. The government of Canada has put in place emergency measures to slow the introduction and spread of COVID-19 in Canada. You must quarantine for 14 days, provide contact information, and monitor yourself for signs and symptoms. So basically, the main rules and the main points that you need to keep in mind are over here. So your 14-day quarantine starts on the day you arrive. So firstly, go directly to your place of quarantine without delay and stay there for the duration of your quarantine. Second, practice physical distancing of 2 meters at all times. Third, avoid stops and contact with others while in transit to quarantine. So you need to use a private vehicle if possible. You need to remain in the vehicle as much as possible. Pay at the pump for gas and use drive-through when you need food. You need to wear a non-medical mask at all times unless you are alone in a private vehicle. Also, you must report on the ArriveCan app. So as you already know, I made a video on the ArriveCan app. You can go ahead and check it out on my channel, and you need to monitor yourself regularly on all the 14 days of your quarantine. Next, you need to so your arrival at your place of quarantine should be within 48 hours after you enter Canada. Your COVID-19 symptom self-assessment, you need to do it every day until the end of your quarantine. So if you're arriving by air, which most of us will be, and basically you need to require a proof of COVID-19 molecular test, and you need to retain a copy of the COVID-19 molecular test results with yourself. And then a suitable place of quarantine is one where you will have access to all the necessities of life without leaving your place of quarantine. Have a separate bedroom if the space is shared with family, friends who didn't travel with you. Can limit interactions with others in the household if spaces such as kitchen are shared. Wear a mask if a 2 meter distance cannot be maintained. Thoroughly and regularly clean common areas after use. And you're not living with those at risk of more severe disease. You're not in close contact with others who did not travel with you. For example, do not quarantine in a group or communal living settings, including camps or student dorms, unless the location is pre-authorized. You cannot quarantine in a household with a large family or many people, and you cannot quarantine in a shared small apartment or similar settings. So, guys, please do keep all these points in mind. It does mention that you can have a shared kitchen, but you need to have a mask on at all times. But it doesn't mention anything about the washroom, so I would still prefer you go with a place which has a private washroom for yourself for the 14 days you'll be in quarantine. Next thing is, so while you are in quarantine, you do not leave the place of quarantine unless it is for a medical emergency, an essential medical service, or on treatment to obtain a COVID-19 test, which is pre-authorized. You cannot have any guests even if you are outside and you stay 2 meters apart from them. Do not call any guests at all. You can only use private outdoor spaces such as balcony, etc., which are private, not shared. Do not use shared spaces such as lobbies, courtyards, restaurants, gyms, or pools. So, if anyone who lives in an apartment building, they might have restaurants, gyms, or pools, so you're not allowed to use that in quarantine. Lastly, you must monitor your health for 14 days. If you start experiencing any symptoms of COVID 19, could be any of these, you must isolate yourself from others immediately. Follow the COVID 19 instructions of the local public health authority, which is below. So, if we scroll down, so the 14-day quarantine starts again. if you during your quarantine period you develop a fever or a cough and difficulty breathing, or if you test positive for COVID-19, or if you're exposed to another person. For information on possible exposures to COVID-19 during travel, you can go ahead and look at the website. To help reduce the spread of COVID-19, they have given the basic things which you can use to avoid COVID-19. We all know about it by now. And these are the public health authorities number, which you can call in case of emergencies. So if you want, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of this for whatever province you will be landing in. So yeah, that's about it for all the COVID-19 travels rules, regulations, and points which you need to keep in mind when you arrive in Canada and when you book your quarantine in India or wherever you are before traveling to Canada. Now let's move on to an actual form, an actual quarantine plan form, which was actually made by my own sister who traveled to Canada a few weeks ago. I even made a video with her airport immigration experience. And so we'll be looking at her form, how she filled it out, and she showed the same form to the airport authorities, the officers at India as well as in Canada, and they were absolutely fine with that form. So you can go ahead, use that type of form, and make a quarantine plan like that. So without wasting any time, let's just get into the quarantine plan. So this is how the quarantine plan form looks like. I've just hidden the personal emails or personal details of her for privacy reasons. So quarantine plan form, I will try and attach this quarantine plan form blank for you guys, so you guys can go ahead and download it from the description. But if I'm unable to do that, I really apologize for that. And you can go ahead, contact me on my email, which is again mentioned in the description. You can go ahead, contact me on my Instagram, and I will send you this quarantine plan form in a blank PDF. So you can go ahead, take a printout, and fill it out online and take it with you as it is at the airport. So basically, in her form, it says quarantine plan. In order to comply with quarantine procedures, state your trip details and how you plan to execute it. And the CBSA officer will be evaluating it when you enter to Canada. So full name, so she entered her name Shreya first, last name Tugral. Then you need to enter your date of birth. You can enter the address where you'll be in quarantine. So she entered the place where she did her quarantine. So she basically booked a B&B, which was really useful and which was actually very convenient near the airport. So she booked that place and she entered the address of the quarantine over here. Here she entered the apartment number and then the city, wherever, for example, Toronto, Markham, North York, or wherever, or in any other province. Then you need to enter your province over here, the postal code. Over here, you'll enter your phone number in Canada if you have, and if you don't, it's okay, you can leave it blank, but you need to enter your email address over here. The next thing is your travel information. So you need to answer a few questions in this form. Are there any additional travelers in your group? If yes, then press yes. And each traveler must fill out their own form. If no, then just enter no. Arrival date. So you need to enter your date of arrival with year, month, and day. And airport or arrival and terminal. So she landed in Toronto. So you can enter Toronto YYZ Terminal 1. If you land in Montreal or any other airport, you can go ahead and write that airport over here. Then she arrived by air, so you select the option through which you arrive. So she arrived by air, so she selected air. Next, her airline flight number, if applicable. So this was her airline flight number. So you can go ahead, check it out on your ticket, and when you book the flight, and fill out this column. Next is your passport number, which you need to write down over here. You can go ahead and look at the end of your passport to write the passport number. And the next part of this document, of this form, is details about your quarantine plan. So it says, do you have accommodations where you can quarantine for 14 days? Yes, of course. You need to select yes. If yes, then what is your quarantine type? Private residence, with family, commercial, or it could be a hotel, a university residence, or other. So she went with the private residence because she booked an Airbnb. You can select any of these categories. If you fall in none of these categories, you can go ahead and select other and specify which type of a room will you be booking for your quarantine. So she booked an Airbnb, so she wrote Airbnb over here. Next, if yes, what is the address where you'll be staying? So she entered the Airbnb and then the street address of the place with the apartment number, city, and her province with the postal code. And then the last question over here is, do you need accommodation assistance to quarantine from anyone who is over 65 years old or who has a heart disease or any of these following diseases? Yes or no? So she went alone. She didn't have anyone over there who was vulnerable. So she entered no. If you do, you can enter yes. But if you're traveling alone or with someone who is not over 65, you can go ahead and answer no. The next part of the form is, if you scroll it down, you'll find the other part, which is this. So this is the page 2 of the form. So it says, are you able to make the necessary arrangements for your quarantine period, like food, medication, childcare, cleaning supplies, pet care, health? You have to select yes on it. If you select no on it, then there might be a problem, and the officers will ask you for clarification and details for this question. So go ahead and answer with yes. The next thing is, if yes, how will you receive these necessities? Delivery, meal plan, friends, family to provide, or other. So she selected all of these, as you can see. You can select other, and you can mention how you will be getting it if you have other means. Next question is, what form of transportation will you take to your quarantine location? So it could be a private transportation, public transportation, taxi, or rideshare. So if you're booking an Uber or a cab or a taxi, you can select this option. If you'll be taking a public transportation, go ahead with this option. She took a private transportation. She already booked it from India, so she selected this option. My recommendation here would be, please book a private transportation before you arrive in Canada. Book it already from India, because once you arrive in Canada, there will be like so much hassle and everything. It'll be so much confusing. So it'll be really easy and convenient for you if you already go ahead and book it from India. So next thing, this part is also very important about additional information. So if you have any other details that you would like to include for your quarantine plan, please add them here. So you can hereby take a screenshot of this explanation. You can copy this explanation or make an explanation according to yourself and see how what she wrote. So she wrote, my Airbnb booking consists of a private basement apartment with my own private kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom. My landlord has all the groceries already put in the apartment, and also I have apps like Uber Eats in my phone from which I can order. That's it. That's all you need to write, to the point. You need to just show the officer that you are capable of doing the quarantine. You have all the supplies ready, and you have all the apps to order food, and you have a completely private place where you can do your quarantine. That's it. And the next thing is, here you'll be doing your signature and entering the date when you'll be filling this form. That's it for the quarantine form. This is the only document you need to carry with you as a proof of quarantine. You can also carry with you the proof of receipt of whichever you. So if you book a hotel, you can carry the receipt or the bill of that hotel. For a proof of booking, you can carry the bill of the Airbnb which you book, or any other. So you just need to carry those proof and this form, which is really important, which you can just show to the officer right away when you land in Canada. So that's it for the form. Now let's go ahead and look at different websites and different places. What I'm going to show you is a plan of a hotel. So this is just an example. It's nothing personal. So this is just random example in a random city in Ontario. So it's just to show you an idea on how much is the quarantine plan cost in one of the hotels or pubs if you stay in an inn or a hotel. So this is in 31. I booked it for 2 weeks. Just entered random dates. Let's say you're flying on 6th of February and you'll be landing on the 20th of February. So for 14 days, the cost is actually really high. It's $2,226. $2,226, $3,500. So this is actually a little too expensive for students or workers. And but if your budget allows, definitely go ahead and book these places. But if it's looking too expensive, then like me for me it's a little too expensive. We'll go ahead and look at other websites. So my first website for you, which is actually really useful and really helpful, is the airbnb.com. My sister used that website herself and booked herself a place for quarantine, and it was actually very convenient and one of the best ways to book your quarantine. So this is the Airbnb website, as you all can see. So we'll be doing a live example over here, entering a random city, check out and check in dates, and see how the prices vary and come. So first, let's take Toronto for an example. So if you need to quarantine in Toronto, check in. Let's say you're flying on the 2nd of February and you need to quarantine for 14 days till 16th. Add guests, so it's just one person. So if you're two, you can just enter two. I'm just taking an example of one person, and you can press enter. Search. Also, one more thing you need to keep in mind, type of place. So you basically will be doing a quarantine, so you need to have an entire place to yourself. So I will go ahead and select entire place, save. Okay, as you can see, the prices over here are varying from $53 a night to $67, $70 depending on your budget, $68, $69. So let's go ahead and look at one of the examples over here. So this is one of the apartments. It's like a completely private place. With the discount, it comes to be to around $46 a night, which is actually a really good price. And The total for 14 days comes to around $807, which is actually a really good price. I'm just taking a random example. There's nothing personal to do with these guys or anything. So $807 for 14 days is actually very cheap as compared to the hotels we saw in the previous part, and is a good example of how you can book an entire private place to yourself. So you'll also have your own kitchen, and which will help you to cook if you want to cook, and you can order groceries online and cook in the kitchen. So there are other places as well, like $92, $70, $67. So basically it'll come to around $800 to $900 for 14 days, which is actually not too bad as compared to the hotels. Okay, so let's just go ahead and look at another example. So this was Toronto, and since Toronto is the main hub and is one of the most expensive places, so the prices are a little high over here. Let's go ahead and look at some other places. Let's say Saskatoon, and same check-in date, and let's go. So over here, as you can see, the prices are almost same: $62, $74, $72, 60 CAD a night. And if you open one of the places, then you can see the discount increases and goes down by 10 or $8. So it's $52 a night for $929. So this is the average price if you book on the Airbnb website. This is how much it is going to cost you at the Airbnb, around $800 to $900 for 14 days, where you'll be having your entire. And I'm just to keep in mind, I'm looking at the entire private places. You can go ahead and look at other places for your own convenience. So this was for the Airbnb. The next website that I have for you, gg.ca. This is another great website in Canada where you can look for places to quarantine, and it is one of the classified and registered website in Canada. But one con of this website is there are a lot of scammers on this website. So guys, please be aware of that, and before you make any payment, try to take a written proof or a receipt and make sure the place is legit before you make any payment on the website of Kijiji. So I'm basically just showing this website as an example to compare prices with Airbnb and other websites, so you guys can have a good idea of where you can look to book your quarantine places. So basically, as you can see, I've searched rooms for quarantine near Toronto, and let's have a look at the examples that we have over here. So the first example shows a furnished bachelor apartment for quarantine, $850. So it says the price is $850 for 2 weeks, and as we can see, the place is quite good. Again, it is just a random example. I have nothing to do with these examples. So it is just to show you the comparison of prices. The next place we see is like a $550 month to month, but that's for 1 month and not available for quarantine. So you guys need to have a look at them. And when you message these owners, make sure you ask them if it's available for quarantine. And it says $675, $800 again, $800 quarantine room, $800 quarantine only rooms. So as you can see, the prices are almost similar to the Airbnb website. It's around $800 to $900, and the houses are and the rooms which you'll be looking are both good and clean. So you can also have this Kijiji as an option if you want to go ahead and look at rooms or places to quarantine. So the other websites that I can recommend you to go ahead and look for places for quarantine, it could be Pad Mapper, Place for Students, Premier Suites, Soul Suites, and Place for Students, like I mentioned, Airbnb, Kijiji. So these are the other places which you can go ahead and look for places to quarantine at a cheaper and a good price. TripAdvisor is one of the good examples. Also for students, all the colleges are, since they're providing a DLI approved quarantine plan, you can also go ahead and book the quarantine plans with your schools, but the budget but the expenses for those plans, which I think I saw, are around $1,100 to $1,200. It could be a little expensive, but for those who are able to afford it, they can definitely go ahead and book those places, as those places will be more convenient and easy for you guys. For those whose budget is a little low, they can definitely go and check out the other websites which I mentioned in my video, and I'll also link down the Airbnb website, so you can go ahead and book your place through that link as well, and you might get a discount from clicking on that link. So yeah, that's about it for the quarantine video, guys. I do hope you find this video helpful and useful, and it answered all of your questions about quarantine. If you still do have any questions, please do drop them down in the comments and I will get back to all of you. Please do like the video, do subscribe to my channel and be a part of my journey. Do let me know if you have any questions. Till then, as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.